My name's Dave Murray, and I'm the Director of Thought Leadership for the Business Performance Innovation Network. We are based here in Silicon Valley. We're a global network of senior executives who are innovation leaders and change agents within corporations. And we have just completed a study that was really inspired by TiEcon that looks at the impact of innovation, looks at the impact of startups on traditional markets in terms of disruption and its impact on the rate of innovation in larger companies. And that's what we're here to talk about today. One of the key findings of this study that we've just done is that we talked to 250 senior executives and entrepreneurs around the world and found just about unanimous agreement that young startups and young companies are disrupting virtually every traditional market. In fact, 98% of everyone we surveyed said that they saw disruption in their markets, and almost 40% said that that disruption was severe, like advertising and marketing, entertainment, retail, and of course IT, travel as well. So let me just start by asking you, Donovan, what was the intent of doing this study, and what did you find out that was surprising?
Good afternoon, late afternoon to all of you. I think our intention here was to look at our audience, which is corporations with 500 million or more in annual revenue. Our audience is really people who head up change management, business transformation, business remodeling, process innovation, process change management, as well as strategic planning. And these obviously are roles that are across all titles. And we're looking at the change agents in the organization, and we're trying to find out why are corporations not as competitive as they should be? What types of innovation cultures do they have? What are the innovation imperatives for those organizations? What level of accountability is there around this soft topic of innovation? How do you actually invest in innovation? How do you create an organization that is change-minded and open to really making things different? How do you cultivate tall blades of grass rather than short blades of grass in your organization, where we are faced with organizations that tend to be very change resistant and very resistant to taking risk? So our organization advocates change, and our organization tries to encourage companies to embrace more enlightened policies and practices as it drives, because innovation drives performance, and that is really what needs to be ingrained in the cultures of these companies. If you look at today's news, there was an announcement that TiEcon has invested $100 million in Lyft. Lyft has a market value as a result of about $2.5 billion. Uber has a market cap of 41 billion to be exact. If you look at other companies that you might know who are also somewhat in a way of being disruptors, JetBlue has a market cap of 6 billion. Ryanair has a market cap of 7 billion. Southwest Airlines is 27 billion. Virgin America is 1.2 billion. CSX, which is one of the largest railroads, has a market cap of 35 billion, less than Uber. You look at American Airlines, they have a market cap of 33 billion, less than Uber. So how do you justify these huge multiples, and why are companies like this transforming and creating new categories and new services? So that was part of our exploration. The other part of what's happening globally is we're seeing a whole new batch of brand challengers and category contenders coming from other parts of the world than North America and Western Europe. Many of you here are transplants. Many of you here are going back to other parts of the world for development services, for programming, for assistance. You're starting your companies for much less money. You're growing them faster. You're tapping into infrastructures that are hosted in the cloud. You're able to scale your business. Your time to result is faster. These are big factors that companies have yet to sort of understand And the nuances of what happens when these companies fly is that this is significant disruption. So our survey was really aimed at trying to get a sense of what level of what this disruption is doing, how companies are reacting to it, how are they sensing and tracking and trying to monitor where they're going to be competitively disintermediated, how their marketplaces are changing, how the channels of distribution are changing, and most importantly, how their interactions with their customers are going to be transformed through digital experiences. So that was our point, was to try to drill into this, and what we've come up with is some very surprising results, which I hope you will all take advantage of, and I'm happy to talk some more about that later.
That's great. Rajani, what is your experience? Do you see the pace of disruption with your clients and globally? Do you see it accelerating, and what are the drivers?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here today. No, I absolutely agree with, I had a crystal ball and I gazed into it before the results of this report came out, and I, called it. Disruption is the name of the game today. Traditional businesses are being disrupted every which way you could look. And the upstarts, the new companies, the new entrepreneurs are the ones that are doing most of this disruption. So I completely agree with that fact. We're all familiar with the Lyfts and the Airbnbs and Ubers of the world and what they're doing. What's really mind-boggling to me is the incredible pace at which these disruptions are happening. 6 months ago, maybe, I got WhatsApp on my phone, and today 50% of all my business with my clients is conducted on WhatsApp, which I would never have imagined. 6 months ago, it was all email and phone calls, and suddenly everything's on WhatsApp today. And there's other things that are coming up. Most of our conversations are video, Skype, IP-led discussions. We barely, if ever, have just conference calls over phone. So there's lots and lots of disruptions that are coming up. And innovative companies are successfully leveraging technologies and the technological advancements that are happening to make these innovations available to their customers. There's new channels of customer engagement that people are demanding, and these innovative companies are able to leverage technology to do that. There's also shared economy models. The traditional models of engaging with clients are, they're in the past now. And unless companies really embrace these new models, they're going to get left behind and made irrelevant. We as a culture want everything now, and we want everything the way we want it, personalized to our tastes. And all these things are really driving innovations in the marketplace. And to your point, these opportunities are available to everybody, large organizations, small organizations. But the large companies are having a hard time embracing change for a multitude of reasons, right? One major aspect is the fact that the things that made them successful, the very innovations in their time that made them successful are the ones that are now becoming irrelevant. And it's very hard for them to make that shift and leave those old ways of working behind. Secondly, they've built a lot of processes, a lot of frameworks, a lot of organizational structures within the organization to do business a certain way. And today's new business models need them to put all that behind to modernize their legacy applications and to embrace the new ways of doing things. And that's hard for a billion-dollar corporation to do. And finally, there's all kinds of politics, if I may, within organizations that make them risk-averse. Innovations and entrepreneurs, by definition, are not afraid of taking risks. Where a failure is actually considered a badge of success in the entrepreneurial world. And so those are some of the reasons why the large organizations are having a hard time dealing with innovation. And those are exactly the reasons why the smaller companies are doing so well in this field. They're not averse to taking risks. They're able to turn on a dime. They're able to transform their business models overnight. We have worked, as Tech Mahindra has worked with a number of companies, startups, where we have a conversation with them. The very next day, they come back and say, you know what, all that is yesterday's news. Today, this is how we want to run the business. So those kind of things are really what are driving successes in the entrepreneur.
Respondents to this survey, what they thought, what markets were being transformed and disrupted most rapidly. And number one was marketing and advertising. And I know that survey analytics is about market research. What is it about this marketplace that makes it so open to disruption?
Yeah, if you if you think about market research and kind of customer insights, it's about a $20 billion business all up between all the different ecosystems. And traditional market research has been like, hey, I want to make a decision. I need to have some data for that decision. I go out, do a bunch of studies, and wait for 2 or 3 months, or wait for even a month, and then make decisions. 1 month is too long right now. And what we've helped a lot of companies in terms of just collecting insights, both attitudinal. I mean, a lot of behavioral data is already collected digitally through any, a variety of means, but attitudinal data also can be collected digitally and in real time piped in with the behavioral data and provide solutions to our customers in real time in terms of how things are working and how things are not working. A good example of it is we work with Zynga, a gaming company up here in San Francisco. So we have probes into all their games in terms of how people are feeling about the games throughout the experience, really, across all the different games. And we have real-time dashboards that goes out all the way to the product managers, so when they release a new update to the game, within 30 minutes, they can sense how people are reacting to different components of the game. So that's kind of an example of how kind of we are not, they have kind of almost killed their entire market research department and said, like, we're not going to do it the old way. We're going to just kind of build these probes into our ecosystem and go from there, really. So that's a good example of how we see the entire market research industry kind of getting disrupted just through pure technology and pure kind of efficiency, really.
Terrific, thanks. Could you move the slide to the next one? Donovan, we talked about the fact that larger organizations are having a hard time keeping up with disruption, keeping up with transformation. Can you talk a little bit about what strategies larger companies are using to accelerate that pace of innovation? How are they trying to keep up with disruption?
So what we found is that those who have a real systematic approach to innovation are the ones that are sort of leading the pack. We've got a situation where there is a recognition by senior management, there's a CEO level of commitment, there's a board level of commitment to change and to continuous innovation, and they have invested in developing change agents in their organization, identifying change agents, identifying inventioneers, and in many cases implementing infrastructural systems that cultivate idea sharing, that actually elevate ideas or graduate good ideas up the organization. They're setting up teams and task forces to approach it, and then they're shopping outside. So some of the representatives at TiEcon are folks who are tie-kicking, trying to see what else is out there that could be embraced. We're seeing a lot more strategic alliances and partnerships. We're seeing people, certainly seeing acquisitions, as we all know. I mean, Cisco is a great example of a company that's had repetitive acquisitions to try to keep itself relevant in the marketplace and keep pace with where, there was some speculation that they might acquire FireEye. There's speculation that Microsoft will acquire Salesforce. So these are large-scale investments that are helping those companies be more competitive. If you think about what other upstarts are coming from, 45% of the Fortune 500 companies in another perhaps 10 years will be based in markets outside of North America and Europe. And the companies that are doing acquisitions are companies that are acquiring Western brands. So if you think in the last, let's say, 2 years or so, there's been an acquisition of Smithfield, of Del Monte, of Godiva, of Tetley, of Volvo, of StarKist, Land Rover Jaguar, Sara Lee, Anheuser-Busch. And these are acquisitions by companies that are not traditionally no-name companies, but are large, sizable organizations or conglomerates or groups. And some of those companies are actually represented here. So companies who are looking to be, continuously casting around, and they've decided that their culture has to be open to innovation or has to be open innovation-minded. And one of the things that I think characterizes the market today, and I'm speaking now from a marketing standpoint, people have always talked about the 4 Ps of marketing. To me, there's a whole new advent that's driving the growth of disruptive startups, and it's the 4 A's model, which is really around one big thing that's critical to consumers today, particularly millennials, is authenticity. The second one is acceptability of products. The third is availability of products. The fourth is awareness. And the last, of course, is affordability. So when you start to think about how the marketplaces have changed globally, what new technologies are enabling us to buy anytime, to engage anytime, to get awareness through our social trusted networks, through very different digital channels of engagement. These are all things that are changing the way people take their products to market. So I think smart companies are starting to rethink their business models, and they're certainly starting to rethink how they approach going to market, which is a critical part of the process.
Rajani, maybe you could talk a little bit about how Tech Mahindra is helping its clients with disruption.
Okay, great. But before I answer that, I'd like to take the liberty of telling you a little bit about how Tech Mahindra themselves are addressing that. I mean, we're a $3.5 billion company. So we are one of those large organizations that traditionally might have a hard time embracing change ourselves. We're part of a $17 billion organization. We've been around for decades. So the same problems that we find our customers having with embracing innovation, we could potentially have. And so we've put in some frameworks and some systems within the organization to address that, to ensure that, when we go out and talk to our clients, we know what we're talking about, because we're doing that internally as well. So one of the things that we do very, very effectively is we conduct innovation labs within the entire organization. It's really crowdsourcing for innovative ideas. So we conduct these forums across the globe. We invite all of our 100,000 employees to come in with ideas, suggestions, and we hold contests, where people can come in and present, similar to what happened, a few sessions ago here, where they come in and they pitch their ideas to some senior people within the organization. And a few of those ideas are selected and funded to be actually, given some shape and form. And we have appointed young CEOs within the organization. These are people under the age of 35. They are given the funding, they're given the authority, and they're given the corporate resources to actually make some of these innovations a reality. We also have a program called the Shadow Board, which is, again, young people within the organization that actually literally shadow the board of the company. So while the board is making decisions on the direction of the company, the shadow board is bringing the ideas and thought leadership of today's generation into the mix, and therefore bringing in that level of innovation. So these are some of the things, and I can go on. There's a whole bunch of social responsibility innovations that we have also instated within the organization. We've actually come out with products for social responsibility, primarily in the emerging markets, and they will be moving to the US also shortly. But those are some of the things that we've done internally, to eat our own dog food, so to speak. Now to answer your question with respect to how we help our clients with this exact thing. Given the fact that we are consultants, we do digital transformation for our consultants, we've actually invested in understanding tomorrow's needs today. And we've come up with a digital transformation framework that incorporates, the much talked about social, mobile analytics, cloud computing, Internet of Things, security, networking, all of those aspects to help traditional companies become digital enterprises. So large organizations that have built their businesses based on yesterday's needs with yesterday's infrastructure need to be moved to the digital age. And that's what our digital transformation framework really helps them to do across all aspects of their organization. So right from consulting help, where we come in, take a look at their organization, their business processes, the market in which they exist, the clients that they compete against, the customers that they sell to. We look at all of that, we come up with recommendations on what they need to do to become a digital enterprise, and then we help them through that process, through that journey.
Great, thanks. I know we're running short of time here, but Vivek, maybe you could talk a little bit about, as an entrepreneur and as a successful serial entrepreneur, what it takes to be a disruptor. How do you find market opportunities? How do you develop winning business models? And what can large companies learn from you and other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a book by a guy called Ron Davison, and it's called The Fourth Economy, and he talks about, if you look at Western economies from the 1300s to the 1700s, it was all about agriculture. After the 1700s with the Industrial Revolution, so it was all about industry from 1700s to the 1900s, and then the 1900s it was the information revolution. So all throughout the 1900s, we've been dealing with the information revolution, and then going forward, it's the entrepreneurial economy, really. Good statistic to think about is the beginning of the 20th century, only 3% of Americans were high school educated. Today, it's 95%, really. So if you kind of make that same analogy today, we have 3% of the general population is looking into entrepreneurship. 50 years from now, what will it be? Will it be same as 2 or 3% of the people who are working for you? So I love kind of programs where Tech Mahindra is doing is like almost making mini entrepreneurs within the company, really. So those are the things that can obviously drive. I also think like a lot of companies, the general perception is bigger companies are not innovative, but I think they are very innovative, but they're not entrepreneurial. There are two different things, and most people try to conflate those two. They're not actually the same, right? You can be innovative and you cannot, entrepreneurship is straightly about risk-taking, really, and that's it. And bigger companies have natural tendencies, like a human organism like has a natural antibody against change. That's the nature of any company. So I think, talking about, from my own experience, I used to work at big companies, and I kind of understand that. And the reason I kind of quit my day job and went and started my own company was because I couldn't get what I wanted to get done, really. So it's about the risk-taking capacity. So as long as companies give kind of some sort of a outlet for folks to take risk, I think that's about it. And I think there are smart guys everywhere within the company, within Cisco as well as outside of Cisco.
I mean, one of the things we did, the BPI Network, we did a study on decision economics. So what are the impacts and implications of making smarter, better, faster decisions? How do you, what is the impact of not making decisions or making the wrong decisions? So part of, the problems with a lot of corporations is the process around decision support and understanding the issues and implications. And what we found that in larger corporations, you've got to grow change champions. You've got to find people that are wired in a way like Vivek might have been, and how do you retain people like Vivek to be change agents inside that organization? How do you create those joint ventures? How do you create open innovation sourcing, for talent and technology, going out into the entrepreneurial ranks? How do you screen and evaluate? In most cases, the corporate way of recruiting is to find people who are like-minded drones, but what we really want to do is to try to find people who are disruptors in their own right. And then funding of entrepreneurial development is a big part of what we're doing. And we've launched a campaign with UNICEF called CauseTech.net, CauseTech.net, and you can join an open innovation community on a global level and help contribute ideas, products, technologies, thinking, suggestions, referrals to help UNICEF with its mission in 150 countries to try to serve the needs of people that are at risk and vulnerable.
Okay, I think we're running into some other sessions now. I just want to invite you all to visit the bpinetwork.org, get a copy of the study report, join the organization. We'd love to have you as a member. Thank you.